I have enjoyed the way audiences have reacted. They've made the right noises.
It's been 20 years since Love Actually hit theaters and became an instant holiday classic. From its star-studded cast to its iconic scenes, it's no wonder the film was a hit. But not everyone was confident the romantic comedy would be a success. Emma Thompson spoke to Access Hollywood at the film's 2003 premiere and admitted she was worried people wouldn't like it.
You know, I'm British about this, and I always think, don't let's hype it too much because people might go and be disappointed. And I'm very I hope everyone goes and sees it and enjoys it. And I think that it's kind of, it's sort of for grown-ups as well as for, young people.
Emma had nothing to fear after all, as fans loved the movie from the start. The film's universal message tugged on everyone's heartstrings, and the stacked cast only backed it up. Hugh Grant, Liam Neeson, Colin Firth, Emma Thompson, Alan Rickman, and Kiera Knightley are just a few A-listers in the romantic comedy. And a then 18-year-old Kiera told Access she was extremely nervous sitting across from all these massive stars at the film's first read-through.
When I was actually so nervous when I went up for the audition. I was more nervous than anything else I've been up for because it was a Richard Curtis film, and I think being British, but anywhere in the world, you know how brilliant his films are. They're fantastic. So I was very nervous and completely thrilled when I actually got the part and terrified at the same time. And I have never been so terrified as when I went to the read-through at the beginning, and it was all these amazing actors sitting around one table reading. And I'm only in 3 scenes, so it's a teeny tiny part, but I was so nervous when I had to read them out in front. I was like, Alan Rickman's sitting over there and I've got to read and this is awful. But no, it was fantastic fun.
So how did all these stars come together for one film? Director and writer Richard Curtis told Access his trick for getting everyone on board.
Well, it was quite hard for people to say no, of course, because it was only a short filming period. Ooh. And they could say, oh no, I'm busy. But then you'd say, but are you busy the next month? And the next month.
Like those people who ask you to dinner and
you say, no, I'm busy. And then they say, well, how about next week? And then next week. Yeah. So, we were quite flexible in our scheduling.
Yeah.
And the parts were quite sort of small and concise, so it wasn't that great a demand on people.
For supermodel Claudia Schiffer, signing on for the role was a no-brainer.
I know, I was very flattered when he asked me to be in this movie. And he basically just called me and said, would you like to be in? And I was like, yeah.
And even though Claudia only has a few scenes in the movie, no role was too small, as the story follows several couples as they fall in love over the holidays. And there are plenty of moments that will make your heart melt. From Mark turning up at Juliet's house to profess his love to the Prime Minister of England dancing around his house.
Yeah. Mary, I've been thinking. Can we move the Japanese ambassador to 4 o'clock tomorrow?
Certainly, sir.
Terrific. Thanks so much.
When Access spoke to Hugh at the film's 2003 premiere, he joked filming that scene was humiliating.
No, it was a whole day of humiliation. And then about 3 months of CGI to put me back in time, because, this is something that life protects you from. You don't realize how badly you dance until someone actually films you and then plays it back to you. And I swear to God, I will never dance again as long as I live.
Not only did he have to dance, but he had to sing too.
Are you singing carols?
No, I'm not.
Please, sir, please. Please.
Well, I suppose I could.
Please.
All right.
And turns out Hugh gave the director a note that helped make that scene shine so much brighter.
Hugh came to see it and gave very few notes afterwards, but one of them, he said, can I leave a 1.5 more pause before I say that line? I said, no, and no. And then we went back and looked at the rushes, and sure enough, we pulled it back 1.5 seconds, and it was better. That scene,
was it?
That scene by the door where she says...
Are you saying you actually reacted to one of my notes?
Yeah.
That's such a lie.
Where the little girl says, are you carol sing? Would you sing a carol?
Yeah.
And you leave what I think is now an embarrassingly long pause.
Of course, we can't talk about Love Actually without mentioning the romance. And one of the most swoon-worthy moments of the film is when Jamie travels to Aurelia's restaurant to ask her to marry him.
Easy question.
Kijk, tu disseste?
Sim, claro.
Unfortunately, watching that moment back isn't as romantic for Colin Firth. He told Access at the film's premiere that he can't enjoy any scenes he's in.
It's a grisly experience. I've noticed that when 10 years go by and it starts to look a lot like someone else doing that, then I can forgive myself, yeah.
Thankfully, there are plenty of romantic highlights that stand the test of time, including the sweet moment when Sam shares a kiss with Joanna at the airport. Access spoke to a then 13-year-old Thomas Brody Sangster, and he told us all about working with his on-screen stepdad, Liam Neeson.
Very nice. Didn't seem like a star, he seemed like a really nice, gentle person. No, not really. We seemed to bond quite well straight away, so it was a really good experience working with him.
At its core, Love Actually is all about love, of course. And Hugh told Access if being in such a romantic film makes him want to fall in love.
Funnily enough, I have a heart of flint, and normally a film like this would be not my cup of tea. And I sit there watching it thinking, I'm not going to like this, I'm not going to like this. And by the end, very much to my chagrin, if we pronounce it that way, I find myself very moved. And yeah, it is. It's a film that does remind you that actually you can relax a bit. You don't have to go out and panic about making money and getting promotion and all that. Really, the only thing that matters is are there people around you who you love, and are you in love with someone? And it's sort of about changing priorities a bit.
Liam Neeson and his wife, the now late Natasha Richardson, also talked to Access about the film's heartfelt message and gave a special nod to director and writer Richard Curtis.
I think it's so great that he still sort of is so full of optimism and love of life in these times when people get very embittered, when everything's bleak, when you get pretty cynical. It's wonderful to still be able to celebrate all the great things in life as well as know how difficult it is at times.
He does see love all around. He really does.